big Imperium kingdoms are all pretty much dying, and of course there's a few exceptions, but I think the time is limited for these large Imperium kingdoms to enjoy that status of being bigger than everybody else. So in this video, I want to talk about it. Why is this happening? What is the trend that we all can see and point to? What does this mean for you as a player? And I'm going to make a shameless plug for 2605, a kingdom also people claimed would be a dead kingdom after we lost to KVK. But actually, we're not a dead kingdom, and the takeaway here is super, super relevant for anyone trying to build a kingdom. So, let's get going, baby. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and I've literally been playing this game almost since the beginning, okay? I was around when you could migrate literally entire kingdoms, and these were huge kingdoms all together. So I played back when it was like meta to migrate in 5 or 6 kingdoms into your kingdom. We literally did that in 1051 back in the day, and it was crazy. Now, that was a whole bunch of drama that unfolded around that. We're not going to get into that drama. We're going to stick to the Imperium drama. What is an Imperium? Maybe we should start there for the newer players. But for those that maybe need a refresher, the top 24 kingdoms by power are designated as Imperium kingdoms. The way that power calculation is done is they look at the top 300 players by power in the kingdom. And if you're over 150 million power, they count you at 150 million power. Now, that alone is a topic that is very contentious. The reason the developers do this is that, you know, if a player like Yoda, strongest player by power, at least he was, I think he is still, but anyways, if players like that count as a billion power, they basically kill their kingdom by being powerful, because what would you rather have? One player at a billion power, or dozens and dozens of players at less than a billion power, at like less than 100 million power, around that 90 million power mark, right? So that's why the developers go in and they say, if you're over 150, we count you at 150 million power. And if you were in this Imperium designation, new players cannot come to your kingdom. There are exceptions. If you're under 35 million power, you can go there, which, hey, I mean, you can basically bring farms. And if you once a month get a special migration ticket, you can join one of these kingdoms. Technically, I guess it's not a ticket. You can be approved by the king of the kingdom, and the king of the kingdom gets an upwards of 3 total special migrations they can approve. It's 1 per month. 3 can be accrued. So what am I trying to say? This designation is basically a death mark. It always has been, and that was 100% the intention. They want to stop your growth so that you are not so far above everybody else as a kingdom that you can't find a good match, you can't play the game really, there's no one to fight, that's your power level. Like, you basically break the game, and players have been trying to break this game since the beginning of time. Now, there are some advantages to being in an Imperium kingdom, absolutely. First of all, you gain control. The biggest Imperium kingdoms, like 365 in this setup, have control over who fights who? What are the allies going to be? You have so much more control in creating the strategy and the situation that ultimately you're going to play in. This is a big deal. One other reason that many people join an Imperium, besides wanting that control, is that theoretically you as an individual are less impactful on the overall outcome. And I know that sounds weird, but think about it. Like, if you go to sleep at night in one of these kingdoms, it's not as big a deal compared to a smaller kingdom where you are in a one alliance kingdom, for example, like the situation I'm in now. Like, if you're offline, you're definitely noticed and it's missed, right? And so the point I'm trying to make is that a lot of people sneak into these big kingdoms so that they actually can be more anonymous, so that they can actually theoretically have more of a balance in their life rather than like feeling like they have to be playing every moment of a KVK, all right? That's part of why people go to these big kingdoms. And of course, I predicted that big kingdoms would potentially die a long, long time ago when the autarch system came out. The autarch system is a special reward tier at the end of KVK where you can get ultra rare legendary inscriptions that are powerful beyond anything else you can get for improving the quality of your march in the open field. So getting these autarch testimonies is really, really, really important for account growth, to the point that people are just creating easy KVKs for themselves, which kind of loses the plot, but whatever, is what it is. Now, there are things that, however, suck about being in a big Imperium. Trust me, I would know. I've been there. Besides the fact that there are many personalities, some of them may be more eccentric than others, the challenge of being in a big Imperium is that you can't bring in new players, as I was showing you. So if we look again over here at these Imperiums, first of all, they can't bring in fresh blood. And what does that mean? Well, in order to cheat this system, the thing that you do to make your power look weaker than it is you fill your hospitals with troops at the end of KVK. Now, this is a sort of known strategy. You fill your hospitals, your power looks lower, you leave Imperium, migrate a bunch of people in, heal your hospitals, and then you're back at Imperium, and you're so far in. At some point, these kingdoms can actually never leave. They're too far into Imperium. And that's what this mechanic is designed to do, to kill the largeness of those kingdoms. Quite frankly, like, it's designed to shrink your kingdom. That's what this does, okay? The other thing that these kingdoms have to do is they have to delete troops. Not all of them, but the biggest of them, if they want to get a migration in, not only do they have to fill their hospitals, which, like, hey, one fill of a hospital, it doesn't seem like that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. But deleting troops sucks. Trust me, I've been there. I know what this is like. Everybody having to delete troops so that you can get a migration in is miserable. There also is the task, by the way, of managing dead weight in your kingdom, which is not what this video is about. But remember, your kingdom's power is equal to the total power of the top 300 governors in the kingdom. So you can't have any dead weight. So one of the first things you do is basically zero all the people who were not good enough or active enough or contributing enough, regardless of whether or not you like them. They've got to leave or delete troops or whatever. You have to shrink them down. So that's another big downside of being in one of these large kingdoms. Another downside of being in one of these large kingdoms is you don't get as much personal account growth. The way that you aspire to get personal account growth in a big kingdom is that maybe they create situations where you get more wins, and because you get more wins, you get more rewards, and that's how you get your account growth, because it's still the same one mightiest governor cycle shared for all those players. So instead of one alliance worth of players sharing a mightiest governor of rewards, it is 3 alliances, 4 alliances sharing, the leadership cycle is maybe not the best example for showing how important that is, but it's a big deal. All the events that give rewards for top rankings, you're less likely to get them in a big kingdom. The other big issue with a big kingdom, besides the fact that you don't get as much personal account growth, is that the kingdom only gets growth for as long as it is successful. In other words, if the kingdom has one surge of players out of the kingdom, it unwinds years of progress that is almost unrecoverable. Like, you'll never get it back at this point. So in other words, because kingdoms are getting smaller and smaller, and this is actually a fact, folks, when you look at what the Imperium line was, the amount of power it took to be at this 24th most powerful alliance, it used to be like 27, 26 billion power. And then a year after that, it was like 24 billion power. And then a year after that, you look to the present and it's like 22 billion power. Like, this number is going down, which means if you ever have a migration out of your kingdom, because maybe you're losing KVK and you've accumulated a bunch of people who are only there for the wins, then you have irrecoverable progress basically erased from your kingdom's development, which sucks. It feels bad. It actually feels bad. And a lot of these kingdoms, I'm not intending to point to these particular kingdoms, but a lot of Imperium kingdoms end up stuffed with players that end up being more there for the win. Because if you're sacrificing your own account's growth, then, like, if you're not getting wins, like, what are you doing there? Well, you need to be having either a lot of fun, right, to be worth staying, or people just leave. And in a lot of cases, people just leave. It is what it is. Now, many people watching this video may think, bro, I'm not in one of these Imperium kingdoms. I don't have this problem. But if you're wondering, how do you avoid this Imperium drama? There are several strategies. One strategy is simply to be in a 1 or 2 alliance kingdom. And this is the portion of the video where I shift gears to kind of plug the strategy we've taken in 2605. We've actually built a 1 alliance kingdom, which is really weird. It's in a lot of ways what people would consider under-leveraged, considering how many people are actually interested in joining our kingdom. Could we easily fill a second alliance? Yes. Yes, we could. In fact, we've been asked, and I won't reveal who, but multiple kingdoms have approached us with regard to potentially merging, and these are like not small kingdoms that are interested in this. So the point that I'm trying to make is that having one really good alliance is actually a desirable situation. 2 alliances, I think, more standard right now. So the 1 alliance, 2 alliance model seems to be the direction that the game is going. And the other thing that you need to do to avoid the sort of Imperium drama and the drama associated with a loss is you actually, especially if you're a small kingdom, need to mentally and emotionally be able to withstand a loss. And people were creating all these false rumors that like, oh, 2605 had this huge migration out after the last KVK. Bro, no, we didn't. No, we didn't. What are you talking about? We had, I believe, in the realm of 12 people depart. The overwhelming majority of those people were asked to leave or nominated to leave because they're more interested than in wins. And like, that's okay. Like the fact that we took a 1v6 fight, 1 alliance versus 6 kingdoms, by the way. I'll put the stats up on the screen. It was a really crazy KVK. We figured out who the fighters are. The people that are not fighters depart. We become more resilient as a kingdom, and we're in a better spot now. So we're currently 16 billion power. We've got, I don't know, like 1.2 trillion, almost 1.3 trillion kill points. And like, we're getting the kinds of migrants in that we're really happy to be getting. And I'll highlight a few of these in a second, but the point that I'm trying to make here is that like creating a kingdom that is resilient and smaller and doesn't have any of the headaches of not being able to recruit seems like the right strategy to me right now. So here's Gomez. He joined 92 million powers, almost 17 billion kill points. You've got Alloys who joined recently, 79 million power, 15 billion kill points. You've got KVD who joined, 161 million power, 15 billion kill points. I mean, these are just a few examples of people that joined that are kind of near the top of the list here. I'm not going to run through this whole list because there's a lot of people that would be worth highlighting. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that over the years, I've seen people make really weird choices about like what kingdom they're in. And I understand why some people are more focused on like, does this kingdom get as many wins as possible? Because like, I don't know, people play the game for different reasons, right? But alternatively, I would argue this game is all about community. Find the right community, stick with that community that you enjoy, and you'll have a lot of fun along the way. And the fact that we took a loss and we barely lost any people and we're on our way to our next KVK looking pretty good, I'm feeling pretty good about how 2605 is going, despite the fact that there's all these haters who will say we're a dead kingdom, which has always been weird. Now, in fairness, I think we have like 5 or so slots open. I think there's a few farms in here right now, so we're going to shoot up in power for what it's worth, especially when the Zenith rolls around. We'll easily gain half a bill. It's just kind of crazy. But we are 2 billion power out of Imperium right now, which is actually insane. So if you're interested in joining a community of people that are actually interested in playing their accounts, fighting a ton in KVK, and enjoying each other's company rather than chasing wins, consider joining us in 2605. Alternatively, if you're interested in a smaller kingdom, and like, look, you got to have a lot of KP. You got to have a lot of dead troops. You got to have a lot of power. You got to have a lot of punch to join a kingdom like 2605. But if you're looking for a kingdom that would be a certainly easier kingdom to get into, that's very well led, 2293, which is my restart kingdom, also will be a great place to go. You could message the officers over there. The migration link for 2605, if you want to apply, is burnruz.com. We have a very, very small number of slots open. And I'm mentioning this in part because, like, yes, I mean, shamelessly, I'm looking for a few more people to join the kingdom. And I say I'm looking for. I don't do the recruiting. We've got folks like Shumi that have been doing this for years that are extremely discerning in who joins, right? Making sure that they are truly a fit for the team and the culture. As weird as this sounds, like that matters so much more than so many things that people end up actually prioritizing. Anyways, consider joining us in 2605. The big advantage of being in a one alliance kingdom is you've basically stacked all of the spending and punch into one place. So you get the absolute maximum value from rewards, from activity, and so on, which, hey, look, I've been in the big kingdom model. I get why people are in 365 and 93 and these other kingdoms. I'm not hating on it. I'm simply looking at the trend. And the trend is that Imperium line is only going one direction. It is shrinking. And all the devs have to do is add more kingdoms to that Imperium number, and it is just going to be a tough situation for these really, really large kingdoms. Like, you know, I keep pointing to 1365 because this KVK is actually kind of nuts, but like, it's going to be really tough to maintain this Imperium status, that's for sure. And if the developers make this number 32 or 40, like, bro, it's GG's for the biggest kingdoms, that's for sure. So yeah, folks, despite popular belief, 2605 not dead. You do need some amount of mental toughness to be in a kingdom like 2605. Like, you actually need to have self-confidence to be in a kingdom like 2605. Because all these bozos on the internet are going to speak negatively of us. And it's just going to be that way for the rest of time. And like, my bad, y'all. Like, there's a content creator here. We're going to get... People are always going to try to clown us wherever I go. Sorry, fam. My bad. my fault. Nothing to do about that. Technically, it's not my fault. I mean, that's victim shaming. They're idiots for clowning. But the point I'm trying to make here is don't apply if you don't have some mental toughness. And I'm going to keep pushing that message because we're going to end up with a group of people that are all actually totally cool with taking a loss and taking a fight. And that, in the long run, is going to be the better way to build a kingdom than a bunch of people who are chasing wins. You know what I mean? Although, again, I know that most people are not in these big fat Imperium kingdoms. Hopefully you found this video entertaining. If you want to see where I called the shot, that like the timeline of big kingdoms is, I mean, they're on the clock, man. Card will be in the end screen in just a second, where I basically predicted this trend, and here we are. It's going in that direction, and it's only going to continue. So consider joining a One Alliance kingdom now, like 2605. Space is limited. Alternatively, my restart's looking pretty good. 2293. Solid A kingdoms. We're an A kingdom in 2605 with Imperium quality punch. That, I think, is a really solid place to be. My 2 cents.